You're tuned to Radio Kidnappers, the voice of Hawke's Bay. This is the program called
The Wonderful World of Wardini Books. Thank you.
And as always, it's our pleasure to have in the studio Lou from Wardini Books and Havelock North. How are you getting on?
Yeah, really well. Yeah, so much happening. It's all really good.
Yeah, you've been flat out like a lizard drinking.
Absolutely.
And Christmas just around the corner. I see on your Facebook page you're having a Christmas gig already.
A pre-Christmas Christmas. This was Amy's idea. And it's a really sensible one because so many people have got to get organised early because the post's so crap, even within the country, never mind when you're trying to send things overseas. So come along, have a chat, have a glass of bubbles, let's get all a bit Christmassy just for one night. We'll go back to kind of normal the next day, and we can recommend you books, and we can let you know what's best for your 5-year-old and your 72-year-old, and help you get organised.
When's it going to be?
Oh, I haven't got my diary right there. I think it's the 14th of October, which is a Wednesday night.
Nice one.
And it's like 5:30 till 7.
Yeah. They've been a bit slack this week because I've only got 2 books to review, although look how thick they are.
They're massive books.
Yeah, and the first one is called Future Girl. A bit of sci-fi, is it?
Not really, no. So I don't know, there's bound to be a genre for this. It's probably just future fiction or something. It's by an author called Asphyxia. Mm-hmm. And she is an artist, an activist and a writer living in Melbourne. She's an Australian, and she has created this novel. It's a young adult novel, but I'm not obviously a young adult. I'm a fairly middle-aged to old adult now, and I really enjoyed it. So she's created her character Piper McBride, and I would imagine that Piper McBride is quite a lot like Asphyxia herself. Mm-hmm. So Asphyxia is deaf, and so is Piper. And Piper has been brought up by her mother, who is a very high-achieving research person who works for a company called Organicor. And Organicor have created a food substance called Recon. So you don't need a kitchen in your house anymore, Ken. They will Organicor will deliver to you once a week a big trolley full of your food, and you have like a food container, like you get a takeout container, and you press a button on it and it'll cook it.
Wow.
And then you've got your roast meal, or you've got your bolognese, or that kind of thing.
Can't wait for that.
And it's inherently dangerous, I'll tell you why. So they're nutritionally balanced for you, Ken, and for me, Lou, and wild food is not encouraged. You're not really supposed to eat wild food anymore because it might poison you.
Right.
And the government's pushing this message. But then peak oil hits and everything just becomes prohibitively expensive. Piper's mother, Irene, loses her very flash job, and they're absolutely on their uppers. And Recon is being delivered, but it's only like half the Recon that you would have had, so people are beginning to starve.
Oh, right, so you're getting rationed.
And then the deaf aspect of it is that Piper's mother has always encouraged her to wear hearing aids and act like a hearing person, otherwise people will think you're dumb. If you're doing all this signing in the air, people will just think you're dumb. And so that's how she's been brought up, but it's always given her headaches. She finds it really hard to concentrate enough to lip read all day at school, etc. She's 16, by the way. And she meets, kind of accidentally, a young man called Marley, and he is the child of a deaf adult, so that's Coda. And he teaches her how to sign. And his mother, Robbie, is a sort of earth goddess, and they've got this amazing garden in the middle, like walled off in the middle of Melbourne, where everywhere else is just tree vandals have stolen all the wood because that's really expensive now. And she's got this garden, and they live completely on wild food. And Piper's like, oh my God, you'll die. And they're like, well, no, actually, look, we're actually really healthy. Yeah. So there's all this cracking off. There are food shortages. There's people starving in the streets, but it's illegal to, grow your garden in the street. So there's a hell of a lot going on in this novel. And the artist part of it is that Piper is an artist, and they haven't got paper as a really rare commodity now, and it's very expensive. So she kind of has got all these plastic things that she's collected, and she collages, and she keeps a journal. And this is really, the story is her journal.
Right.
Yeah. And
I
as
love
you can
those
see,
pages,
as you go all the way through.
Look at that.
Yeah. And she ends up, the things that she's created end up being like activist posters and stuff like that. And there are actually quite cool, that's lovely. This is a person that she meets. Yeah. And it's just the most incredible, complex, wonderful story. But you can see it happening, and that's the scary bit. So it's a bit of a cautionary tale as well.
Easy read?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
What do you give it out of 10?
It's a 10 out of 10. I became slightly obsessed and I've just been rabbiting about it all week. I've made lots of people buy it.
Just as an aside, I know you review a lot of Kiwi books, and there's a book written by an Australian about Australia. Do you find that the location that's written about in the book has a bearing on sales? I mean, you might have a really great author in New Zealand who writes about, say, Auckland or Wellington or Howrah. If that person wrote the same story but based it in London and New York, does that have a bearing on sales? I mean, is that a dumb question? Or?
No, it's a really clever question. I think the thing that has a bearing on sales most of all is how much media it gets, how much publicity it gets. I mean, in a little independent bookshop like ours and any other good indie in the country that hand sells, that really affects sales too. So I have loved that. So I will sell it to people and I'll get them all excited about it. But if that was on the radio, if Asphyxia was on RNZ or a big spread in the Listener and came across really well, the sales just go whoop like that. Yeah.
Fair enough. Now, the next book you're going to review is by that famous comedian, Graham Norton. He's also a writer.
He's a writer. This is his third novel.
Really?
And I've read the previous two. They're not connected. He's not done series. He's done standalone novels. This is called Home Stretch. And people always say, like you said to me when I came in, is that the Graham Norton? And yes, it is. Because if you think about how he presents himself as a comedian and a talk show host, he's a raconteur. He's a storyteller.
Yes.
And it translates perfectly to the page. So he's always in Ireland, he's always gone home. And, you know, his speech patterns and the way that people talk around Cork, for example, is where we are in this one. Then that's how they speak in the novel. And you just immediately get the sense of where you are, talking about location again. In Future Girl, it was very Australian, it was very hot, it was very, you know, this, that and the other. I've just thought of something about... I'm not going to go on about Future Girl anymore. But in this one, the cadences of speech and the landscape and the grey winter and the rain, you are definitely in Ireland.
You know where you are, yeah.
Yeah, so in this one, I'm not that far into it. As you say, I've been quite slack because I've had so much going on. I've not actually been at home long enough to pick up a book. But in this one, there's going to be a wedding in this beautiful town, and everyone's getting ready for the wedding, and one of the mums is at the hairdresser's, and the doctor is just finishing up for the day, and all these things are going on, and this bunch of kids have gone out in a car. There are 6 of them in this station wagon. And the first thing that happens is that the man from the garden centre he's driving home, and he's just farewelled the kid that works for him, and off he's gone. He's part of the wedding party. And he's let him go early because they're going out or something's happening. And he's driving home, and as he approaches this roundabout, he thinks that, as he reflects on it later, he doesn't know why he slowed down or why he felt that something was wrong, but he comes across these 2 men, and one is kneeling and the other one's standing, and there's something going on between them, and the car is in the ditch. And there are 6 young people, and 3 are alive and 3 are dead. And and then it's the unravelling of that. And the boy that was driving Connor, he survives and is shunned by the rest of the town. The bride and the groom, who were to be wed the next day, they're dead.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's a novel.
It's a novel. Yeah. It's definitely a novel, and what a start. It's absolutely unputdownable. And Connor then, it's following his story. There is a secret there. Something has cracked off between those kids that may or may not have led to the crash, and Connor is shunned by his sister for a start, is totally ashamed of him. They don't know if it's his fault or not that the car crashed, but he was the driver, so it's his responsibility. And he basically gets shipped off to live with cousins in the UK who find him a building job. And then when he's there, things don't go particularly well. So we follow Connor, and he's eventually going to come back to Ireland and face his demons.
You might have to give us a bit of a synopsis later on when you finish it.
Update, yes, but what a cracking start it's had. What a storyteller.
Graham Norton, wow, look at that, eh? How clever is he? Does he write non-fiction as well?
He's written 2 parts of his memoir, and I've read one of them. Yeah. And he is unapologetic about his life. He's really obsessed. I think I really liked him because he's really into dog. He loves his dog, you know. Yeah. If you're a doggy person. Yes. But there was one bit I'm thinking, man, and he's a big drinker, right? And he's unapologetic about it. He knows it's not healthy, but he doesn't have a problem.
Good
and
on him.
He'll describe that he's flat out woken up on his kitchen floor many times and just gone, oh, here we are. interesting take on it.
Good that he doesn't make excuses for living.
Well,
Good on him.
there you go.
That's right. All right, now, if we want to get these amazing books, or one of many thousands of books that you guys have in store, where are you?
We are 16 Tomato Road, Havelock North, and 44 Hastings Street, Napier.
And just remind us about that Christmas gig one more time.
14th of October, which is a Wednesday, 5:30 till 7. Come to Havelock North. It's at the Havelock North shop, and Amy and I will be there. Amy's bought me some very sparkly glasses, Christmas glasses, which I'm very excited about. Yeah, so we're going to go full on Christmas just for that evening to get you sorted.
Good on you, Lou. As always, my pleasure. Look after yourself. Talk to the same time, same place next time.
Excellent. Thanks, Ken.